Hello everyone, this is Enea here, and in today's tutorial I'll teach you how to create this octagon pattern in Affinity Designer. This pattern is made of octagons which overlap with each other to create some kind of grid. As I explained in my previous tutorials, in order to create a pattern for a pattern fill, we first need to identify the tile that repeats itself throughout the composition. In this particular pattern, I identify the following tile that I highlighted with the red rectangle. The key to identifying a tile in a pattern is that it must start at the top, where it ends at the bottom, and it must start on the left, where it ends on the right. So this is what we are going to seek to create. And this is what the tile will look like after we have created and exported it. And we are going to create the tile as black stroke on a transparent background. And we are going to create the gradient background as we do the pattern fill. Alright, so to get started, we go to File New, and we'll create a new composition. We give it 1000 by 1000 pixels in dimensions. And then we go to the Margin tab, and we uncheck Include Margin, and we click on Create. And then we make sure that Snapping, Snap to Grid, and Snap to Object Bounding Boxes are enabled. And we uncheck Snap to Spread, as it might cause endurance on this particular figure. And then we go to View, Grid and Axis. We check on Show Grid to make it visible. And then we go to the Advanced tab. As a grid type, we select Oblique, which is a grid made of squares at a 45 degrees orientation. I will set the spacing to 50 pixels, and then we can close the Grid Manager. And then we're going to start drawing the first octagon. So we take the polygon tool, we set the number of sides to 8 to make it an octagon. We set the fill to none, we leave the stroke as black, and we set the stroke width to 5 points. And then while holding Shift to keep the 1:1 proportions, we go ahead and we create an octagon of about 350 by 350 pixels in dimensions. And then we select the octagon, and we center it on the grid's intersection. So the center of the octagon must overlap with the grid's intersection. This is important. So we go here to enable Transform Origin. And we are going to rotate it by 22.5 degrees to have it in this orientation. So now we have the first octagon. To create the tile, we are going to need 4 more octagons that go around it. So we press on Ctrl J to duplicate it, and we move it to the right while holding Shift to keep it on a straight line, until the octagon snaps to the grid, this grid line here that goes through the center of the first octagon. And then we take its rotation center, and we position it in the center of the first octagon. And then we press on Enter to bring out the Move Duplicate panel. We check on Duplicate. We set the number of copies to 3 and the rotation angle to 90 degrees. So this creates all the octagons that we need to create the tile. And then the next step is going to be to delineate the tile. So the tile is going to be located from this intersection here to this intersection here. And we are going to delineate it with the rectangle tool. So we take the rectangle tool, and we set the fill and the stroke to none. And then we go ahead and we create a rectangle between those two intersections. And then we select the rectangle and we make sure that it is positioned correctly. So it must go through the intersections here. So now we have delineated the tile. And then the next step is going to be to set the background to transparent. So we press on Escape to unselect. And then we go to Document Setup. we go to color, and we check on transparent background, and we click on OK. So now the background is set to transparent. And then we select the rectangle again, and we're going to export its content. So we go to File, Export. We set the file type to PNG to include the transparency, and the area to selection area to export only what's within the rectangle. Alright, so now we have exported the tile, and we're going to use it to do a pattern fill. So we go to File, New, and we create a new composition. We hide the grid, and we are going to reactivate Snap to Spread. And then we take the rectangle tool. We set the fill and the stroke to none. And we draw a rectangle all over the composition. We select the rectangle. And we press on Ctrl J to duplicate it. We select the rectangle behind. And we take the gradient tool. We leave the context as fill. And we set the type to linear. And then we go ahead and we create a gradient from the top left to the bottom right. We set the top color to orange. And the bottom color to a darker shade of orange. And also we're going to give it a bit of noise to give it that gold feeling. And then we select the rectangle above, and we are going to bring in the tile. So we select the Vector Float Fill tool. We go to Set Bitmap Fill, and we select the tile that we just created. We click on the composition, and this creates a pattern fill. And then we can adjust the handles to make the pattern bigger or smaller. Alright, so that was it for this tutorial. You learned how to create an octagon pattern in Affinity Designer. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye!